फिर लाइए वो दुकान में जाइए।
अच्छा अच्छा
नहीं
ये फिर क्या किया आपने?
क्या किया
ऐसे डालते? डालो डालते ही। वो पहले सेक्शन की अपन ने लाइन लगा दो। इसे से हुई
ये हरे में काले में डालना
हाँ हरे में
ये वो
ये ड्रेस डाली हुई है मेरी रॉकी का। पहले मेरा खाली पड़ा हुआ है।
ये भी तो चाहिए इसमें
ये है और तो मत कर दिया था। मेरा तो नहीं रखना है। क्वेश्चन है What book? How are you?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
हरे कृष्णा।
By your mercy.
तो आप गवर्नमेंट जा रहे हो, हम गवर्नमेंट नहीं हैं।
तभी तो आपको मर्सी
हमारे
चाहिए।
पास जॉब ही नहीं है।
तभी तो गवर्नमेंट वालों को मर्सी चाहिए आपकी।
आप कुछ भी कर सकते हो।
empowered
Take a train at a time.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, he's coming.
You take a train at a time.
Very important, right? AI 104.
This is going to everyone.
It is going to everyone.
Live.
Everyone.
So,
Amrish Maharaj, he asked us to be. You know what? Well, they can see only from the back side of yours, or you're not from the front side. A104.
It's coming on time from that side.
Okay.
So you can hear. It's on schedule.
It's on time. It left India on time, the flight.
It's coming on time.
Yeah, yeah. Last night. Sure.
finish that.
Yeah, yeah.
A little over. Oh, I didn't see
You want to do reading?
Yes, Guru Maharaj.
Yeah. The Bhagavatam thinking that's
Which canto was it?
Yeah, you can't go.
10th canto.
10th canto,
But
part 1, chapter
you can go to Krishna.
भगवान का जन्म का ऐसे no
Is it a college? Is it a college study?
Canto 10, Chapter 1, The Advent of Lord Krishna. The summary of the first chapter is as follows. This chapter describes how Kamsa, frightened by hearing an omen about his being killed by the eighth son of Devaki, killed Devaki's son one after another. When Sukadeva Goswami finished describing the dynasty of Yadu as well as dynasties of moon god and sun god, Maharaj Parikshit requested him to describe Lord Krishna, who appeared with the Baldev in the Yadu dynasty, and how Krishna performed his activity within this world. Krishna is transcendental, the king said, and therefore to understand His activity is an occupation of liberated persons. Hearing of Kalila, the boat by which to achieve the ultimate goal of life. Except for an animal killer or one who is following a policy of suicide, every intelligent person must strive to understand Krishna and his activities. Krishna was the only worshipable deity for Pandavas. Text 1. Okay. Text 1. King Parikshit said, My dear Lord, you have elaborately described the dynasty of both moon god and the sun god. With the excellent and wonderful character of their kings. At the end of the 9th canto, 24th chapter, Sukadeva Goswami summarized the activity of Krishna. He spoke how Krishna had personally appeared to reduce the burden on the earth, how he had manifested his pastime as a householder, and how soon after his birth he had transferred himself to his Vrajbhumi Leela. Parikshit Maharaj, being naturally a devotee of Krishna, wanted to hear more about Lord Krishna. Therefore, to encourage Sukadeva Goswami to hear more about Lord Krishna. Therefore, to encourage Sukadeva Goswami to continue speaking about Krishna and giving further details, he thanked Sukadeva Goswami for having described the activities of Krishna in brief. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, known as Leela Purushottam, appeared as a son of Vasudeva, but immediately left his father's home and went to Vrindavan to expand his loving relationship with his confidential devotees. In Vrindavan, the Lord killed many demons, and afterward he returned to Dwarka, where, according to Vedic principles, he married many wives, who were the best of women, begot through them hundreds of sons, and performed sacrifices for his own worship to establish the principle of householder life. The Yadu dynasty belonged to the family descending from Soma, the moon god. Although the planetary systems are so arranged that the sun comes first before the moon, Parikshit Maharaj gave more respect to the dynasty of moon god, the Sama Vamsha. Because of the Yaduvas dynasty descending from the moon, Krishna had appeared. There are two different Kshatriyas family of the royal order, one descending from the king of moon planet and other descending from the king of the sun. Whenever the Supreme Personality of Godhead appears, he generally appears in a Kshatriya family because he comes to establish religious principles and the life of righteousness. According to Vedic systems, the Kshatriya family is the protector of human race. When the Supreme Personality of Godhead appeared as a Lord Ramachandra, he appeared in the Surya family descending from sun god. And when he appeared as the Lord Krishna, he did so in Yadu dynasty or Yadu Vamsha, whose descendant was from the moon god. In the 9th canto, 24th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a long list of kings of Yadu Vamsha. All the kings in both the Soma Vamsha and Surya Vamsha, great and powerful, and Maharaj Parikshit praised them very highly. Nonetheless, he wanted to hear more about the Soma Vamsha because that was the dynasty in which Krishna had appeared. The Supreme Lord of Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is described the Brahma Samhita as about the Lord of Chintamani. The Vrindavan Dham on this earth is a replica of the same abode. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 8.20, in the spiritual sky there is another eternal nature transcendental to manifested and unmanifested matter. The manifested world in be seen in the form of many stars and planets, such as the sun and moon. But beyond this, the unmanifested is imperceptible to those who are embodied. And beyond this unmanifested matter is the spiritual kingdom, which is described in Bhagavad Gita as supreme and eternal. That kingdom is never annihilated. Although material nature is subject to repeated creation and annihilation, that spiritual nature remains as it eternally. In the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, that spiritual nature, the spiritual world, is described as Vrindavan, Goloka, Vrindavan, or Vrijadham. The elaborate description of the above mentioned shloka from the 9th canto will be found here in 10th canto. O best of Munis, you have described the descendants of Yadu, who were very pious and strictly adherent to the religious principles. Now, if you will kindly describe the wonderful, glorious activities of Lord Vishnu or Krishna, who appeared in the Yadu dynasty with Baldev, his planetary expansion. The Brahma Samhita 5.1 explains that Krishna is the origin of Vishnu Tattva. Ishvara Param Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadya Anarindha Govinda Sarvakarana Karna. Krishna, who is known as Govinda, is the supreme controller. He has eternal blissful spiritual body. He is the origin of all. He has no other origin. For he is the cause of all causes. The Brahmanas, the head of innumerable universes, live only for the duration of one breath, Mahavishnu. I worship Govinda, the original Lord, of whom Mahavishnu is but a portion of planetary form. Govinda Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. Krishna, who's Bhagavan's name. Even Lord Mahavishnu, who by his breathing creates many millions upon billions of universes, is Lord Krishna's Leela Visa, or planetary portion of planetary portion. Another meaning may be derived from this verse as follows. Although Sukadeva Goswami was the greatest Muni, he could describe Kamsa only partially, for no one can describe Krishna fully. It is said that Anantadeva has hundreds of heads, but although he tries to describe Krishna with thousands of tongues, his descriptions are still incomplete. Verse 3. The Supreme Personality of God as Sri Krishna Sri Krishna, the cause of cosmic manifestation, appeared in the dynasty of Yadu. Please tell me elaborately about the glories, activity, and character from the beginning to the end of his life. In this verse, the words Kratvan, Yani, indicate that all different activities Krishna performed while present on the earth are beneficial to human society. If religionists, philosophers, and people in general simply hear the activities of Krishna, they will be liberated. We have described several times that there are two kinds of Krishna Katha, represented by the Bhagavad Gita spoken personally by Krishna about himself. And Srimad Bhagavatam is spoken by Sukadeva Goswami about the glories of Krishna. Anyone who becomes even slightly interested in Krishna Katha is liberated. Chanting or repeating Krishna Katha, one is liberated from the contamination of Kali Yuga. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore advised, Yare Deka Tare Kaha Krishna Upadesh. This is the vision of Krishna consciousness. Hear about Krishna and thus be liberated from the material bondage. Verse 4. Glorification of Supreme Personality of Godhead is performed in the Parampara system, that is, it is conveyed from the spiritual master to such glorification is relished by those no longer interested in false temporary glorification of this cosmic manifestation. Descriptions of the Lord are right medicine for the conditioned soul, undergoing repeated birth and death. Therefore, who will eat hearing the glorification of the Lord except a butcher, or one who is killing his own self? In India, it is a practice among the general populace to hear about Krishna either from Bhagavad Gita or from Bhagavatam, in order to gain relief from the disease of repeated birth and death. Although India is now fallen, when there is a message of someone will speak about Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam, thousands of people will gather to hear. This verse indicates, however, that such recitation of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam must be done by persons completely freed from material desires. Everyone within this material world, beginning from Brahma down to the insignificant ant, is full of material desire for sense enjoyment. And everyone is busy in sense gratification. But when thus engaged, one cannot fully understand the value of Krishna Katha, either in the form of Bhagavad Gita or in Srimad Bhagavatam. If we hear the glories of Supreme Personality of Godhead from liberated persons, this hearing will certainly free us from the bondage of material activities. Hearing Srimad Bhagavatam spoken by the professional reciter cannot actually help us achieve liberation. Krishna Katha is very simple. In Bhagavad Gita it is said that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as he himself explained. O Arjuna, there is no secret to me. Simply by understanding this fact, that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one can become a liberated person. But especially in this age, because people are interested in hearing Bhagavad Gita from unscrupulous persons who depart from the simple presentation of Bhagavad Gita and distort it for their personal satisfaction, they fail to derive the real benefit. There are big scholars, politicians, philosophers, and scientists who speak on Bhagavad Gita in their own polluted way. And people in general hear from them. Being uninterested in hearing the glory of Supreme Personality of Godhead from a devotee. A devotee is one who has no other motive for reciting Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam than to serve the Lord Krishna. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has therefore advised us to hear the glories of the Lord from the realized person. Bhagavata paro diya bhagavata sthani. Unless one is personally a realized soul in the science of Krishna consciousness, a neophyte should not approach him to hear about the Lord. For this is strictly prohibited by Srila Sanatana Goswami. One should avoid hearing from a person not situated in Vaishnava behavior. A Vaishnava is Nivritta Prashna. That is, he has no material purpose, for his only purpose is to preach Krishna consciousness. So-called philosophers exploit the importance of Bhagavad Gita by distorting its meaning. For this verse, Krishna Katha should be recited by a person who is Nivritta Krishna. Sukadeva Goswami epitomizes the proper reciter of Srimad Bhagavatam. And Parikshit Maharaj, who purposefully left his kingdom and family prior to meeting death, epitomizes the person fit to hear. A qualified reciter for Srimad Bhagavatam gives the right medicine for the conditioned souls. The Krishna consciousness movement is therefore trying to train qualified preachers to recite Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita throughout the entire world, so that people in general, in all parts of the world, may take advantage of this movement and thus be relieved of the threefold miseries of material existence. The instructions of Bhagavad Gita and the descriptions of Srimad Bhagavatam are so pleasing that almost anyone suffering from the threefold miseries of existence will desire to hear glories of the Lord from these books and thus benefit from the path of liberation. Class of men, however, will never be interested in hearing the message of those who are determined to kill cows and other tongues. All those may make a show of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam at a Bhagavad Saptah. This is but another creation of the karmis, who cannot derive any benefit from a such performance. The word Pashu Gahana is very important in this connection. Pashu Gahana means butcher. Person fond of performing ritualistic ceremonies of the elevation of higher planetary systems must offer sacrifices, yajna, by killing animals. Lord Buddha Deva therefore rejected the authority of the Veda because his mission was to stop animal sacrifice, which are recommended in the Vedic ritualistic ceremonies. Even though men who kills animals for such ceremonies are considered butchers, butchers cannot be entrusted in Krishna consciousness, for they are already materially allured. Their only interest lies in developing comforts of the temporary body. In the minds of those who are too attached to sense enjoyment and material opulence, and who are bewildered by such things, a resolute determination of devotional service to the Supreme Lord does not take place. Anyone who is not Krishna conscious and who therefore does not engage in the service of the Lord is also Pashugana. For he is willingly drinking poison. Such a person cannot be interested in Krishna Katha because he still has a desire for material sense gratification. He is like Nivritta Krishna. As it is said, those interested in Trivigraha, that is, in Dharma and Artha and Kama, are religious for the sake of achieving a material position, which for sense gratification. Such, by willingly keeping himself in the light, cannot be interested in Krishna consciousness. For Krishna Katha, topics of about Krishna consciousness, there must be a speaker and a hearer. Both of whom can be interested in Krishna consciousness if they are no longer interested in material topics. One can actually see how this attitude automatically develops in person of Krishna consciousness. Although the devotee of the Krishna consciousness movement are quite young men, they are longer read materialistic newspaper, magazines, and so on. For they are no longer interested in such topics. They completely give up bodily understanding of life. For topics concerning Uttama Shloka, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the spiritual master speaks, and the disciples hears with attention. Unless both of them are free from material desires, they can't be interested in topic of Krishna consciousness. The spiritual master and disciple do not need to understand anything more than Krishna, because simply by understanding Krishna and talking about Krishna, one becomes perfectly learned person. Yasmin vijate sarvam ivam vijaham bhavat. The Lord sits within everyone's heart, and by the grace of the Lord, the devotee receives instruction directly from the Lord himself. I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me, my remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas, I am to be the known. Indeed, I am the compiler of Vedanta, and I am the knower of Vedas. Krishna consciousness is so exalted that one who is perfectly situated in Krishna consciousness under the direction of the spiritual master is satisfied by reading Krishna Katha, as found in Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. And similarly, since mere talking about Krishna is so pleasing, you can simply imagine how pleasing it is to render service to Krishna. When discourses on Krishna Katha take place between a spiritual master and his disciple, others also sometimes take advantage of hearing. Of birth death. The cycle of repeated birth and death by which one takes on different bodies again and again is called bhav or bhavaroga. If anyone willingly or unwillingly hears Krishna Katha, his bhavaraga, the disease of birth and death, will certainly stop. Therefore, Krishna Katha is called bhava shuddha, the remedy to stop the repetition of birth and death. Karmis or person attached to the material sense enjoyment generally cannot give up their material desire. But Krishna Katha is such a potent medicine that if one is induced to hear Krishna Kirtan, he will certainly be freed from this disease. A practical example is Dhruva Maharaj, who at the end of his tapasya was fully satisfied. When the Lord wanted to give Dhruva a benediction, Dhruva refused it. Swami Kartva Kartva. Yes. My dear Lord, he said, I am fully satisfied. I do not ask for any benediction of material sense gratification. We actually see that even young boys and girls in Krishna conscious movement have given up their long practice of bad habits like illicit sex, meat eating, intoxication, and gambling. Because of Krishna consciousness is so potent that it gives them full satisfaction, they are no longer interested in material sense gratification. Translation.
Taking the boat of Krishna's feet, my grandfather Arjuna and others crossed the ocean of the battlefield of Kurukshetra, in which such commanders as Bhishmadev, resembled great fish that could very easily have swallowed them. By the mercy of Lord Krishna, my grandfather crossed this ocean, which was very difficult to cross, as easily as one steps over the hoof print of a calf. Because my mother surrendered to Lord Krishna's lotus feet, the Lord Sudarshan, Sudarshan Chakra in hand entered her womb and saved my body, the body of the last remaining descendant of the Kurus and the Pandavas, which was almost destroyed by the fiery weapon of Aswathama. Lord Shri Krishna, appearing within and outside of all materially embodied living beings by his own potency in the forms of eternal time, that is as Paramatma and as Virat Rupa, gave liberation to everyone either as cruel death or as life. Kindly enlighten me by describing his transcendental characteristics. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 10.14.58, Samasrita ye pada pallav mahat padam punya yaso murare bhavam buddhir vatsa padam param padam yat padam natesham. One has accepted the boat of the feet of the Lord, who is shelter of the and is famous as Murari, or the enemy of the Mura demon. The ocean of the material world is like the water contained enough caps. His goal is Param, a place where there are no material miseries, not the place where there is danger at every step. One who seeks shelter at the lotus feet of Lord Krishna is immediately protected by the Lord. As the Lord promises in Bhagavad Gita 18.66, Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo Mokshishyami Masuta. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. By taking shelter of Lord Krishna, one comes under the protection. Thus, when the Pandavas took shelter at the lotus feet of Krishna, all of them were on the safe side of the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Parikshit Maharaj therefore felt obliged to think of Krishna in the last days of his life. This is the ideal result of Krishna consciousness, Ante Narayan Smriti. If at the time of death one can remember Krishna, one's life is successful. Parikshit Maharaj therefore, because of his made obligation, intelligently decided to think of Krishna constantly during the last days of his life. Krishna had saved the Pandavas, Maharaj Parikshit's grandfathers, on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and Krishna had saved Maharaj Parikshit himself when he was attacked by the Brahmastra of Aswathama. Krishna acted as the friend and worshipable deity of the Pandava family. Moreover, apart from Lord Krishna's personal contact with the Pandavas, Krishna is the super soul of all living entities and gives everyone liberation even if one is not a pure devotee. Kamsa, for example, was not at all a devotee, yet Krishna, after killing him, gave him salvation. Krishna consciousness is beneficial to everyone, whether one is a pure devotee or a non-devotee. This is the glory of consciousness. Considering this, who will not take shelter at the lotus feet of Krishna? Krishna is described in this verse as Maya Manusya because he descends exactly like a human being. He is not obliged to come here like dummies or ordinary living beings. Rather, he appears by his own internal energy, Sambhavamya Atmamaya, just to show favor to the fallen conditioned souls. Krishna is always situated in his original position as Sachidananda Vigraha, and anyone who renders service to him is also situated in his original spiritual identity, Swarupena Vyavasthiti. This is the highest perfection of human life. My dear Sukadeva Goswami, you have already explained that Sankarshan, who belongs to the second quadruple, appeared as the son of Rohini named Balaram. If Balaram was not transferred from one body to another, how is it possible that he was first in the womb of Devaki and then in the womb of Rohini? Kindly explain this to me. Here is a question particularly directed at understanding Balaram, who is Sankarshan himself. Balaram is well known as the son of Rohini, yet it is also known that he was the son of Devaki. Parikshit Maharaj wanted to understand the mystery of Balaram's being the son of both Devaki and Rohini. Why did Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, leave the house of his father Vasudeva and transfer himself to the house of Nanda in Vrindavan? Where did the Lord, the master of Yadu dynasty, live with his relatives in Vrindavan? These are inquiries about the itinerary of Krishna just after his birth in the house of Vasudeva in Mathura. Krishna transferred himself to Gokula on the other side of Yamuna, and after some days he moved with his father, mother and other relatives to Nandagram, Vrindavan. Maharaj Parikshit was very much eager to hear about Krishna's activities in Vrindavan. This entire canto of Srimad Bhagavatam is full of activities performed in Vrindavan and Dwarka. The first 40 chapters describe Krishna's Vrindavan affairs, and the next is in Dwarka. Maharaj Parikshit, to fulfill his desire to hear about Krishna, requested Sukadeva Goswami to describe these activities in full detail. Lord Krishna lived both in Vrindavan and in Mathura. What did he do there? Why did he kill Kamsa, his mother's brother? Such killing is not at all present in the Shastras. One's maternal uncle, the brother of one's mother, is on the level of one's father. When a maternal uncle has no son, his nephew legally inherits his property. Therefore, why did Krishna directly kill Kamsa, the brother of his mother? Maharaj Parikshit was very much inquisitive about the facts in this regard. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, has no material body, yet he appears as a human being. For how many years did he live with the descendants of Rishi? How many wives did he marry? And for how many years did he live in Dwarka? In many places, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is described as Sachidananda Vigraha, possessing a spiritual blissful body. His bodily feature is Narakriti, that is exactly like that of a human being. Here the same idea is repeated in the word Anusam Asritya, which indicates that he accepts a body exactly like that of a man. Everywhere it is confirmed that Krishna is never Nirakar or formless. He has his form exactly like that of a human being. There is no doubt about this. O great sage, who know everything about Krishna, please describe in detail all the activities of which I have inquired and all those which I have not, for I have full faith and I am very eager to hear of them. Because of my vow on the verge of death, even drinking water, yet because I am drinking the nectar of topics about Krishna, which is flowing from the lotus mouth of your Lordship, my hunger and thirst, which are extremely difficult to bear, cannot hinder me to prepare to meet death. In 7 days, Maharaj Parikshit gave up all food and drink. As a human being, he was certainly both hungry and thirsty, and therefore Sukadeva Goswami might have wanted to stop narrating the transcendental topics of Krishna, but despite his fast, Maharaj Parikshit was not at all fatigued. The hunger and thirst from my fast do not disturb me, he said. Once when I felt very thirsty, I went to the ashram of Samik Muni to drink water, but the Muni did not supply it. I therefore wrapped a net on his shoulder, and that is why I was cursed by the Brahmana boy. Now, however, I am quite fit. I am not at all disturbed by hunger and thirst. This indicates that although on the material platform there are disturbances from hunger and thirst, on the spiritual platform there is no such a thing as greed. The entire world is suffering because of spiritual thirst. Every living being is Brahman or spirit soul and needs spiritual food to satisfy his hunger and thirst. Unfortunately, however, the world is completely unaware of the nectar of Krishna Katha. The Krishna consciousness movement is therefore a boon to philosophers, religionists, and people in general. There is certainly a charming attraction in Krishna and Krishna Katha. Therefore, the absolute truth is called Krishna the most attractive. The word Amrita is also an important reference to the moon. And the word Ambuja means lotus. The pleasing moonshine and pleasing fragrance of the lotus combine to bring pleasure to everyone hearing Krishna Katha from the mouth of Sukadeva Goswami, as it is said, Matir na Krishne paratas patova hito avipadyat kriha vratanam adanta govir visanta mishram punah punas charvita charvanana. Because of their uncontrolled senses, persons too addicted to materialistic life make progress toward helpless conditions and repeatedly chew that which has already been chewed. Their inclinations toward Krishna are aroused either by the instructions of others, by their own efforts, or by combination of both. Bhagavatam 7.5.30. At the present moment, all of human society is engaged in the business of chewing the chewed. Punah punah charvita charvanana. People are prepared and undergo Mrityu samsara vatmani, taking birth in one form, dying, accepting another form, and dying again. To stop this repetition of birth and death, Krishna Katha or Krishna consciousness is absolutely necessary. But unless one hears Krishna Katha from a realized soul like Sukadeva Goswami, one cannot release the nectar of Krishna Katha. चले गए कथा बंद हो गई
To stop this repetition,
Maharaj is gone, so we don't want it. Maharaj is gone.
oh, just 2 minutes. To stop this repetition of birth and death, Krishna Katha or Krishna consciousness is absolutely necessary. But unless one hears Krishna Katha from a realized soul like Sukadeva Goswami, one cannot relish the nectar of Krishna Katha, puts an end to all mental fatigue, and enjoy the blissful life of transcendental existence. In relation to the Krishna consciousness movement, we actually see those who have tasted the nectar of Krishna Katha lose all material desires, whereas those who cannot understand Krishna in Krishna Katha regard the Krishna conscious life as brainwashing and mind control. While the devotees enjoy spiritual bliss, the non-devotees are surprised that the devotees have forgotten material hunger. जय सुखदेव गोस्वामी की जय, व्यासदेव की जय।
हरे कृष्णा पुण्य
हम भी इधर आके से
हरे कृष्णा शांति प्रभु नीचे से हम
कैसे
Oh, yes. Okay, okay. Okay, okay. Last pranam. Last pranam. Forgot it.
इसको धोना है
यूज जो होला फिर क्या करते हो यूज
दूसरा दिन यूज करते हैं
दोबारा
नहीं होता है इसका जरूरत नहीं है आपको अच्छा चंदन मिलेगा ये चंदन थाली पे जरूर मांगा गया था तो ये चंदन था ना वो भी अंदर तो फिर हमने क्या किया टोरंटो से कोई भी चंदन ले लिया मंदिर में से तो ये शुक्र नहीं था
वो है फोटो महाराज फिर जो चंदन
हाँ जैसे
दिल्ली का है तो बेंगलोर का, पर दिल्ली में बेचता है।
कितनी बात महंगा था।
वो भी थोड़ा सा मैं बच्चे से आपको कुछ करना, पर आपको तो पता ही है।
मैं जाऊँगी
कर दो इसको, कर दो क्रॉस।